Those who entered in the past rarely left alive. They all died mysteriously. You guys be careful. Yi Chen quietly released his soul power, reminding Murong Qingcheng and Wang Tong. Murong Qingcheng looked behind her and said, "It looks like we can't get out." Wang Tong explained, "The Sun Divine Hall appears once a month for 3 days. Within these 3 days, you can only enter and not leave. Only on the dawn of the 4th day will you have a quarter of an hour to leave. If you can't leave, you have to wait until next month. Since we're already here, let's take things as they come." Yi Chen didn't say anything else. He had a feeling that things wouldn't be peaceful for the next 3 days. There were a lot of buildings in the Sun God Temple, but some of the smaller ones probably wouldn't have murals. Only the more important ones would have the possibility. Just as the three were about to enter a slightly more majestic building, a scream was suddenly heard from one of the buildings nearby. It seemed like something horrifying had happened. Before that, there were 3 or 4 astral-reaching realm warriors who had entered. Wang Tong said with a low voice, "According to the rumors, there are blood-sucking monsters in the Sun God Temple. They are unkillable, and only under the sun would they not be attacked." Blood-sucking monsters? Unkillable? Afraid of the sun? Yi Chen frowned. "Mr. Wang, you stay outside. I will go in with Murong." Murong Qingcheng nodded. "Yi Chen is right. Mr. Wang, you stay. Then you guys be careful." Mr. Wang knew himself well. He knew that his power would not be of much use, and might even drag them down. Entering the building, Yi Chen immediately sensed a wave of cold power. It was completely different from the warm aura outside. It was hard to imagine that this was the inside of the Sun God Temple. There are murals here. Yi Chen soon found a wall. There were a lot of carvings on it. Because of the restrictive power, his soul power could not sense it too clearly. He would have to walk over and look with his eyes. Pap, pap. In the cold environment, the two's footsteps seemed to be coming from another world. There is nothing about the map. After observing for a while, Yi Chen did not find any weird patterns on the wall. It was all stories and stories. Just as the two turned around, a black shadow flew down from above, shining with a sharp cold light. Chin. Yi Chen did not panic at all. He pulled out his sword with his right hand and threw out 3 sword attacks. The first one brought out a bright spark, the second brought out a stream of blood, and the third stabbed right in the center. Yeah. Not dead yet. After the 3 sword attacks, the black shadow was blown into the air, trying to disappear into the darkness. Sky Demon capture. Murong Qingcheng was already prepared. She reached out with her right hand and pulled back. The black shadow was caught off guard and was pulled down to the ground, making a huge sound. Caw. A sharp roar was heard. The ear-piercing sound wave was everywhere. Even Murong Qingcheng and Yi Chen had to take 3 steps back. Shoo. Seizing the opportunity, the black shadow disappeared. Unkillable blood-sucking monster. Interesting. Yi Chen did not care. He shook off the blood on his long sword and put it back into its scabbard. Murong Qingcheng said, "Our Zhen Yuan has been suppressed by 90%, leaving us with less than 40% of our battling power. This undying monster is almost at the level of a normal astral-reaching realm warrior. Battling power was a comprehensive power, which included Zhen Yuan, martial will, and physical power. 4 astral-reaching realm warriors, Zhen Yuan was the most important, making up about 80% of their battling power. Therefore, the suppression of Zhen Yuan would have a huge impact on their battling power. This is a bit tricky. I wonder how many of these undying monsters there are." Yi Chen had just fought with the undying monster once. The latter's battling technique was not that powerful, but its speed was extremely fast. Under such circumstances, most of the astral-reaching realm warriors would be in danger. Outside, Wang Tong stood under the sun. Seeing the two come out, he let out a sigh of relief and asked, "How was it inside?" "Did that thing appear?" Murong Qingcheng said, "It ran away." "Ran away? Is there really a blood-sucking monster?" Wang Tong had never seen one before, so he was hoping to be lucky. Hearing her words, he felt a chill down his spine. Yi Chen said, "Don't worry. You only need to protect yourself. We will take care of the rest." Inside a huge building in front of them, undying monster, Let's see how many times you can take damage. The one who was talking to himself was a middle-aged man with a cold face. If there were experienced people here, they would be able to tell that he was the famous Ironwood man in the extreme yin place. His power was one level higher than the spirit warriors. Although his Jin Yuan had been suppressed a lot, after reaching the Sea of Souls realm, his body was no longer a normal body anymore. It was extremely tough, and only his physical power was horrifying. Combined with his martial will and remaining Jin Yuan, he was able to compete with extreme astral reaching realm warriors. Under his feet was a human-shaped monster. It had long legs and arms, long fangs in its mouth, and extremely sharp claws. Its skin was white and purple, looking very thick. Instead of calling it skin, it was more like a layer of cuticle. It was very muscular, where it should be skinny, but where it should be strong, it was surprisingly strong. Overall, it was a kind of monster that did not care about appearance, but focused on killing. Swoosh. Holding the dark blue iron stick in his hand, Ironwood Man stomped on the human-shaped monster's chest, creating a bloody hole there. The human-shaped monster screamed and stared at Ironwood Man crazily, showing its fangs, looking extremely horrifying. Ironwood Man frowned. His opponent's voice contained a sharp sound wave, and its super high vibration frequency made his heart feel like exploding. He opened his mouth and waved his arm. The iron stick pierced through the human-shaped monster's throat. All of a sudden, the scream stopped, as if a duck had been choked by its neck. Still not dead. The chest had been pierced through, and the throat and spine had been broken. If it were a normal Sea of Souls realm warrior, they would have been dead by now. However, judging from the struggling power of the human-shaped monster, it was still full of energy, as if the wound it had just received was just a superficial wound. Let's see if you will die or not. The dark blue iron stick shone with a dark blue light as Ironwood Man used all of his power to attack the human-shaped monster's forehead. Boom. White and red blasted out, looking extremely bloody. The humanoid monster's body twitched a couple of times after being hit in the head, then it stopped moving. I thought it was an undying body. So disappointing. Throwing down the monster's body, Ironwood Man turned around and walked out of the building. The number of buildings in the Sun Palace was unimaginable. Even though they had only been looking at the big buildings to find something useful, it still took them a whole day to reach the main palace. As the sun set, the horrifying atmosphere started to cover everyone's heart. It is getting dark. Should we enter the main palace? Of course. The earlier we find the painting, the earlier we can relax. Then, we will only need to stay inside a small building, and we will be able to get through the rest of the 2 days safely. Indeed. There is no difference between going in during the day or at night, since the sunlight will not be able to shine in there anyway. On the plaza in front of the main palace, the surviving people were in groups of 3 to 5, and groups of 5 to 6. Only one Sea of Souls realm warrior who was still alive did not want to form a group, so he was alone. During this time, people would enter the Sun Palace from time to join the exploration team, which kept the number of people between 50 to 100. Let's go in. Yi Chen looked at Murong Qingcheng and Wantong. Murong Qingcheng looked back from the darkness in the main palace and nodded. As for Wantong, he was holding a shield in one hand and a great blade in the other. As they were talking, a bright moon appeared in the night sky, and a shrill roar was heard. Following the direction of the sound, Ironwood Man frowned. He realized that it was the building where he had killed the undying monster. Perhaps, the undying monster is still alive. Chapter 425. There are undead monsters here as well. I can't hold on any longer. Damn. These monsters are unkillable. They are born to be invincible. Let's join hands. Indeed. Only by joining hands can we survive. Originally, there were more than 100 astral-reaching realm warriors in the main palace, and there were only 7 or 8 of them at most. However, under the attacks of the undying beasts, they gradually gathered together, forming a well-organized team with a clear division of labor. Once the team was formed, the success rate of the undead monsters' attacks dropped drastically. Under hundreds of mental power scans, there would always be a few people who would discover the undead monsters' attacks. In the deeper part of the main palace, Yi Chen and the other 2 were fighting as they walked. Shoo! Without stopping, Yi Chen waved his sword, and with every step he took, an undead monster's throat would be cut open. Dark red blood spilled everywhere. Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Great Art was undoubtedly the nemesis of the undead monsters. Within the range of the Sky Demon power field, not a single undead monster could get close to her. They would all be discovered immediately, and their bodies would be twisted by the power field and blown away. It seems like I only need to protect myself. Wang Tong thought that something dangerous was waiting for him, but he realized that he was extremely safe between the two. In front of him, there was Yi Chen with his horrifying sword art, and behind him, there was Murong Qingqing cleaning up the undead monsters. The only thing he could do was to be extra careful. Caw! All of a sudden, a lot of undead monsters roared, and the sound wave attacked from all directions. At the same time, 7 or 8 undead monsters attacked the three from different angles. Activate your Jin Yuan to protect your heart and head. Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing had fought against the undead monsters before, so they knew how powerful this sound wave was. They hurried to remind Wang Tong, who did not know what was going on. Hearing him, Wang Tong bit his tongue and did as Yi Chen said. Fast 4 sword strikes. Switching the thunder sword to the destruction sword, Yi Chen shook his wrist, and the sword light jumped out. The 4 undead monsters closest to him were blown away. One had its arm cut off, the second had its waist cut off, the third had half of its head cut off, and the fourth had its heart pierced through. Sky Devil's palm, heavenly rebuke. Behind them, Murong Qingqing's left and right hands struck out like butterflies flying through flowers. The 3 undead monsters seemed to be repelled by this space. They came and went quickly, bouncing back like lightning. A large amount of internal organs spurted out from their mouths. It was extremely bloody. Yi Chen glanced at Murong Qingqing, silently praising her for becoming more skillful. According to the characteristics of the Great Sky Demon technique, as long as she could continue to improve, she would be able to completely subdue anyone who was as strong as her. When gravity and repulsion were developed to the profound level, it would be extremely terrifying. The 3 were moving at a very fast speed, but no matter how fast they would not be able to outrun some of the more powerful Sea of Souls realm warriors. Wherever they went, the undead beasts that were rushing at them would be blown away immediately. They would not even be able to get close to them. Of course, there were some Sea of Souls realm warriors who were slower than Yi Chen and the other 2, since they were all Soul realm warriors who were not as powerful as Ghost Moon. Bang! An undying monster exploded, and the black-robed Yin demon ancestor walked to the wall. He revealed a faint smile and intentionally raised his voice. There's a map here. What? Where is it? Hearing him, the people behind him were shocked. Isn't this the Yin demon ancestor? Ironwood Man, who was not too far away from the Yin demon ancestor, was a bit surprised. There were a lot of people who knew about the Yin demon ancestor in the extreme Yin place, but not many had seen him before. He came and went like a ghost, and his power was as deep as the ocean. Even among the master-level warriors, he would be above average. Before, the Yin demon ancestor was covered in a black robe, so he did not recognize him. Hee. The Yin demon ancestor laughed weirdly as he flew out of the main palace. He thought that the Yin demon ancestor was going to kill him to keep his mouth shut. Outside, he might have a 10% chance of escaping. But, inside the Sun Palace, his Jin Yuan had been mostly suppressed, and there were not many ways for him to escape. If the Yin demon ancestor wanted to kill him, it would not take him much effort. The Yin demon ancestor does not care that I know the pattern on the map. There must be a reason. Never mind, Ironwood Man, will not kill anyone, just in case. Originally, Ironwood Man was planning to kill him to keep his mouth shut, since the fewer people who knew about his undying body, the better. But now, he had changed his mind. So what if he killed those astral-reaching realm warriors? His opponents would be Sea of Souls realm warriors, especially master-level ones who were more powerful than him. Astral-reaching realm warriors might not be able to threaten them, but they would be able to mess up the situation. You guys are lucky. After memorizing the pattern on the wall, Ironwood Man flew out of the main palace without looking back. Mr. Yi, will they kill us to keep our mouth shut? Wang Tong suddenly thought of something serious, so he asked with a Zhen Yuan message. Yi Chen said lightly, no, and we do not have to be afraid. Outside, perhaps he would be afraid of Sea of Souls realm warriors. But, under the protection of the restrictive power, his advantage had actually increased. His sword spirit embryo had reached the critical point, and he was only one step away from the real sword spirit. His sword will had definitely reached the master level. It should be known that at the same level, the sword will would be more aggressive than the martial will, which was the advantage of a sword artist. Walking in front of the wall, Yi Chen scanned it quickly. There were 4 patterns on the wall. He had already been to the first 2, and the third one was the 13th pattern on the map. The 4th one was not on the map, which looked like an altar with 6 pillars on the edge. There was a bright light shining and a tornado roaring. There are 14 patterns on the map. Could this be the 15th one? Wang Tong thought to himself. Murong Qingcheng said, perhaps it is the last one, which is the place we are going to. Yi Chen asked, Elder Wang, can you tell where this pattern represents? Elder Wang shook his head, I am not sure yet. Wait until we go to the places represented by the 13th and 14th patterns, then we might be able to find the answer. In that case, let's get out of here first. There are more and more undead creatures here. Casually cutting off the head of an undead creature, Yi Chen said. Following the original path out of the main palace, the 3 realized that there were a lot of undead creatures outside as well. With the full moon in the sky, these undead creatures were dancing under the moonlight, looking extremely creepy and frightening. Rock, what do you think these undead creatures are? What kind of connection do they have with the undead body? It was the Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior who spoke, and the Rock Spirit Warrior was right next to him. The latter said, perhaps it is the forbidden power of the Sun Palace. I saw an undead creature that looked very similar to someone I've seen before. You are not joking, right? Those people who died in the Sun Palace all turned into undead creatures? The Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior was shocked. Most likely. Anyway, we need to be careful. Perhaps some of the Dead Sea of Souls realm warriors will turn into undead creatures. Then, it would be troublesome. You are really a jinx. It really came. The Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior lifted up his head. Under the full moon, an undead creature with a red color all over its body swooped down. When it flew up again, it grabbed 2 astral-reaching realm warriors and gulped them down one by one. Their blood had been sucked clean, but it still did not seem to be satisfied. Its red eyes looked at the Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior and the Rock Spirit Warrior. Come on. Who is scared of who? Although he said that the Rock Spirit Warrior was a jinx, the Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior was actually not that scared of the Sea of Souls realm undead creatures. They were still alive, so how could they not deal with the dead ones? Moreover, even with the moonlight healing its body, its recovery speed was still very slow. Only Yi Chen knew what was going on, since the slaughter sword intent was not something to be trifled with. The slaughter chi on it had reduced its recovery speed. If the slaughter sword intent was powerful enough, then even the undead body would be useless. As long as the slaughter chi did not dissipate, it would never be able to recover. This was the power of the attributed sword intent. Chapter 426. What? He repelled the undying monster. The smile on Yuan Gold's face froze, and his face was filled with disbelief. Rock Spirit Warrior retracted his disdain and said, an extremely powerful sword intent. It's at least at the Spirit Master level. No wonder he could repel it in one move. Sword intent at the Spirit Master level? Yuan Gold was astonished. There were 3 levels in the Sea of Soul realm, Spirit Master level, and Master level. Didn't that mean that the latter's sword intent had already surpassed the Spirit Master level? How did he train? It was simply unimaginable. Force field cut. Murong Qingcheng's reaction was not slow either. She clasped her hands together, and the 2 opposite forces merged together, turning into an unstoppable cutting force field, which struck the undying monster's chest. Peng! The undying monster crashed into the wall of the building, and was bounced back by the restrictive power. Its chest was badly mutilated, and its stomach was almost cut open. Gah! The undying monster faced the sky and roared. It had thought that the 2 were soft persimmons, but who would have thought that they would be even more difficult to deal with? Especially that young sword artist in blue, who had dealt it a heavy blow without batting an eyelid. Not only was the wound unable to heal quickly, it had even lost a lot of yuan qi. Shoo. With a flicker, the undying monster left the area, unwilling to provoke Yi Chen. Oh, interesting. He can actually comprehend an attributed sword intent at the astral reaching realm. This is something that even Sea of Soul realm sword artists would have a hard time doing. Yin Demon Ancestor was more observant than Rock Spirit Warrior. He himself knew a master-level sword artist, who could be called a master-level sword artist precisely because he had comprehended an attributed sword intent. Not far away, Ironwood began to pay attention to Yi Chen, thinking to himself, this kid is not simple. In terms of perception alone, I'm afraid he can be ranked in the top 5 among the geniuses of the southern sector. So powerful. Let's go over. Yi Chen's strength made a lot of astral-reaching experts intentionally draw close to him. They understood that Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng might not lend a hand, but with the two present, the powerful undying monsters would be restrained, and their chances of survival would be greater. Regarding this, Yi Chen did not mind. Regardless of whether the other party came over or not, it would not affect him. Since it would not affect him, why would he cruelly chase them away? It was always good to leave some hope for others. Of course, this was if there was no effect. If there was an effect, Yi Chen was not a good person. He hated things that harmed others. Seeing that Yi Chen and the other two didn't do anything, everyone felt even more relieved as they approached. As for the other Sea of Soul realm experts, it was not that they hadn't considered them. Unfortunately, these people were not amicable. If they had a good temper, they would keep their distance. If they had a bad temper, they would berate them harshly, and there was even the possibility of them killing them. The first night passed. Before dawn, the ferocious undead monsters rushed into the buildings and hid in the darkness, waiting for the night to come again. After temporarily escaping from the danger of death, everyone started to study what the 13th pattern represented. Wang Tong pondered and said, "The 13th and 14th patterns are very abstract, I can't tell what kind of patterns they are. If I really want to say, there are at least hundreds or thousands of places in the land of extreme negative energy that fit the pattern. Obviously, this is impossible, so I need to categorize these possible places and find something special and different. Give me some time." "No problem." Yi Chen nodded. It was impossible to find the location represented by the pattern, otherwise, the owner of the map would not have taken it out for auction. Yi Chen did not have to think to know that before the auction, the original owner must have spent a lot of time and effort to study the map, and only made this decision when he found nothing. Yi Chen did not want to know what the original owner was thinking when he auctioned the map. All he could do was try his best. If there was no other way, then he would give up. At the dawn of the 4th day, a distorted and fuzzy tunnel appeared in front of the Sun God Palace. Following this tunnel, all the survivors flew out. After leaving the Golden Desert, Yi Chen and the other two stayed in the nearest Molan city. Haha, I got it. The 13th pattern is not a pattern, but an ancient character. An ancient character that disappeared in the long river of history. If you try to analyze it from the pattern, you won't know where it is in your lifetime. On the 2nd floor of the restaurant, Wang Tong excitedly rushed into Yi Chen's room. Murong Qingcheng heard the news and hurried over, asking, "What character?" "Tu Shui River." "Tu Shui River? How come I've never heard of it?" Wang Tong explained, thousands of years ago, the Tsushui River existed, but for some reason, the Tsushui River gradually dried up, leaving only an underground river hidden underground. As long as we find the underground river, we can know the exact location of the Tsushui River. Wang Tong was not the only one who had analyzed the 13th pattern. Until now, there were already more than 1,000 people who had joined the search for the map of the undying body. Among these people, there were quite a few who were proficient in the history of extreme Yin land. Perhaps, there were a lot of people who knew some ancient characters, but there would always be some. Of course, it did not mean that these people were stronger than Yin Demon Ancestor. After all, everyone had their own blind spots. Hey! Several dozen people are heading in the same direction. Could it be that they have analyzed the 13th pattern? In Molan City, Yin Demon Ancestor sensed something, and his eyes brightened. No one knew that the 300 copies of the map had been tampered with by him. They were branded with his soul imprint. These imprints were not common to ordinary Sea of Soul Realm experts. They were more ancient and profound, something he had learned by chance. Unless one was a life and death king, no one would be able to detect the mysteries of the map. Hihi, all of your efforts are for my benefit. Only I, Yin Demon Ancestor, have obtained the secret of the undying body. A confident smile appeared on Yin Demon Ancestor's face. The process of searching for the Shushui River was very smooth. The three of them first found the location of the underground river. Then, according to the pattern of the underground river, they found the specific location of the Shushui River and dug out a stone tablet from the soil. The stone tablet was also engraved with 3 patterns, which were the ancient character pattern representing the Shushui River, the 14th pattern, and the 15th altar pattern. It seems like finding the Tarchue River is useless. There is no information left on it. If the 14th pattern is the same, we can directly study the 15th altar pattern. Wang Tong originally wanted to find traces of the 15th pattern from the 13th and 14th patterns. However, he was disappointed. They had already seen the 3 patterns on the stele. Apart from that, there was nothing else. Since we've already come this far, we still have to go to the 14th location. Yi Chen expressed his opinion. Murong Qingcheng nodded. Regarding the altar pattern, we still don't have any clues. Instead of burying ourselves in deep thought, we might as well spend some time looking for the location of the 14th pattern. I believe that the 14th location should have some special benefits. Someone is coming. Yi Chen raised his head and looked into the distance. Wang Tong said, "Should we destroy the stele?" He didn't have any illusions about the secret of the undying body. In other words, he didn't have the strength to fight for the undying body. Therefore, he hoped that Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng could obtain the secret of the undying body. Yi Chen shook his head. If we destroy the stele, we will become the target of public criticism. It doesn't matter if they know. There are no secrets on the stele anyway. The instant the 3 of them left, 3 to 4 figures appeared near the stone tablet. Soon after, even more people rushed over, including the black-robed Yin Demon Ancestor. The 3rd pattern on the stele is also the altar pattern. It seems that the altar pattern is the 15th pattern, which is also the destination of the map. Yin Demon Ancestor's mood was surging. The day of him obtaining the secret of the undying body was getting closer and closer. He suddenly felt a little regret. If he had contributed the map earlier, perhaps he would have obtained the undying body several decades ago. No matter what, only I can possess the undying body. If humans block me, I will kill them. If demons block me, I will kill them. The location of the 14th pattern. As expected, there are also no discoveries here. There are only 2 patterns. One had to admit that Wang Tong was an outstanding historian. In half a month, he had already analyzed the 14th pattern and found the location. Unfortunately, just like the Great River, there was still nothing worth studying here. The only meaning was that he had found it. No, don't you feel that this mountain is like an arrowhead? Yi Chen said. Arrowhead? Hearing this, Murong Qingcheng released her mental energy, spreading it in all directions. Soon, she discovered that the mountain was different from the rest. Looking from the sky, this small mountain looked very similar to a huge arrowhead. She was very impressed that Yi Chen could notice this. Could it be that the arrowhead is pointing to the altar? Wang Tong's mental energy wasn't as strong as Murong Qingcheng's. His figure flashed, flying high into the sky and looking down. Yi Chen asked, "Is there anything special about the arrowhead?" Wang Tong said, "The arrowhead is pointing to the west. There are many ancient ruins in this straight line. Could it be the Stoneman Array?" The Stoneman Array was a famous ancient ruin in the land of extreme yin. There were no treasures inside, but many experts liked to go there to comprehend. They all believed that the Stoneman Array contained an indescribable power that allowed them to comprehend things that were normally hard to detect. Several hundred li behind the 3, Yin Demon Ancestor was following closely behind. The 13th pattern was first discovered by Yi Chen's group, and the 14th pattern was also discovered by them. There was no reason for Yin Demon Ancestor not to follow them. I've been waiting for this moment. The heavens didn't disappoint my yin demon ancestor. In the distance, the three saw the stoneman array. The stoneman array was composed of numerous stone statues. The smallest one was dozens of meters tall, while the tallest one was over 100 meters tall. These stone statues had different postures. Some were contemplating, some were gazing at the starry sky, some were meditating, some were waving their swords, and some were breathing. Not a single statue appeared superficial. There are many people here. Murong Qingqing's beautiful eyes roamed about. In her line of sight, there were many experts sitting cross-legged before the stone statues, quietly comprehending. Among them were a few Sea of Soul Realm experts. Chapter 427. Let's not beat the grass and startle the snake ancestor was holding a hexagram gem in his hand. Yi Chen the gem was sparkling and translucent, with the stoneman without any impurities. There was no resplendent rays of light seeped out of it like strands of silk. It was extremely tranquil, without any ostentation or chaos. Each corner of the altar had a stone pillar, and at the center of the altar was a ancestor followed. The groove's size and shape were no different from the hexagram array. This gem was obtained together with the undying ancestor creased his brows. Originally, there were too many experts did not in the stoneman array of this gem. Although he was a master level stoneman array for a while, he couldn't guarantee that there were no took out the hexagram gem and vaguely discovered that there was a subtle array had always been a place of crouching tigers, relying on this indistinct connection. Clenching his fist, a black aura finally found the altar 10,000 meters below the stoneman array. Scanned the surroundings. His eyes landed on the edge of the altar. It must be mine. There were 4 ancient words even written on behind. Undying Daoist Iron Wood, Undying Altar, Gold Spirit Warrior. It must be related to the undying body. One after another. That's right. They were quite concerned about Yi Chen and had followed him all the way. Excited that his whole body was trembling. An eagle was spreading its soul realm master. This eagle wasn't a real eagle, but a condensed creating a new profound within the martial art was one of them. Hid a black-robed but the undying body was even more important. The old man's bones were thick, with a nervous and his arms hung down to his knees. Ancestor carefully placed the hexagram gem into the groove at the center of the altar. He was none other than a brilliant level surged out of the groove, old man, locking the hexagram gem in transformation ability. Soon after, could be said the to have 6 stone pillars at the corner burst without out careful with a dazzling light. It would be hard to condense into a beam was and shot up from an unimaginable speed. My age has already surpassed 270 years. Not good. In less than 30 years, I'll die of old age and turn into a pile of bones. He originally wanted to obtain the secret of the undying body in secret. Even if I have to face a sea of soul master, if the beam shot out of the ground, hesitate. It would definitely as long as I have the undying body, with the I'll be able to head to even more dangerous forbidden areas and ancient ruins to search for methods to increase my lifespan and cultivation within his body. Swish. His right hand seemed spread its wings was fast and dove into the clouds. With a flip towards the stoneman array, he pressed down with his palm. Passed in a flash. This palm strike caused the other two to gain anything. Layers upon layers of profound mysteries appeared. As if there were many sea of soul realm heavens were descending, and they couldn't. It was as if the undying altar was trying to suppress even the beam. If they could, they might not be able to find the slightest trace of torn apart. After all, the stoneman array was so huge, in the blink of an eye, it shot out of the ground and into the clouds. Even Yi Chen's soul power couldn't cover such a large area. What's happening? More than 10,000 beams of light shooting out of the stoneman array. The heavens are indeed formed of my yin demon sect. Perhaps a treasure has appeared. I didn't know what use the people in the stoneman array woke up one after another that not only can this stone gradually sense the existence of the altar as well. It is also the key shot a glance at the seemingly solid beam of painstaking effort. His figure flickered as he passed through the densely packed statues. Deep underground, yin demon ancestor's expression changed several times. In the end, he had no choice but to accept this fact. His expression suddenly turned sinister as he inwardly said, "Whoever dares to stop me, don't blame me for a massacre. Only I, Yin Demon Ancestor, am worthy of the undying body." Rumble. Abruptly, with the 6 beams of light as their trajectory, the undying altar rapidly rose up like an elevator, breaking out of the ground and floating in the air. "It's an altar," Murong Qingcheng blurted out. Yi Chen said suspiciously, "There's someone down there." With a bang, the ground not far away split open, and the black-robed Yin demon ancestor appeared before everyone's eyes. His master-level aura erupted without any concealment. "Irrelevant people, get lost. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." Yin demon ancestor threatened everyone the moment he appeared. "Yin demon ancestor, You're too overbearing. As the saying goes, everyone who sees a treasure has a share. You don't have the qualifications to chase us all away. The one who spoke was Daoist Black Snake, who had participated in the 3-yin city auction. Daoist Black Snake, do you want to become a dead snake? Yin Demon Ancestor waved his arm, and a greyish-black chi violently revolved, turning into a sawtooth blade that shot towards Daoist Black Snake. Sky Snake Transformation. Daoist Black Snake didn't expect Yin Demon Ancestor to make a move just like that. After all, although his strength was inferior to a master-level expert, he was still a Daoist-level expert. Dealing with him wouldn't be a matter of 2 or 3 moves. From the looks of it, this altar was very likely to be the key to obtaining the undying body. As he thought of this, his heart turned fiery. He used his self-created profound martial skill and faced the sawtooth blade. Dong. The space fluctuated violently. Within several li, the weaker astral reaching experts were all sent flying, unable to even approach. Careful. Yi Chen operated his Jin Yuan and protected Wang Tong. At this moment, Wang Tong suddenly said, "Young Master Yi, Miss Murong, the altar has already appeared. The rest is up to you. I wish you all the best." After saying these words, he lightly tapped the ground and floated backwards. In a few blinks of an eye, he disappeared from Yi Chen's line of sight. Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng exchanged a glance and lightly nodded. Daoist Black Snake was, in the end, much weaker than Yin Demon Ancestor. His complexion was pale as he was blasted away, suffering some light injuries. Yin Demon Ancestor looked around and coldly snorted, "I'll say it one more time. All of you get lost. I, Yin Demon Ancestor, will not advise you a second time." Hearing these words, everyone turned silent. A sea of Soul Master's strength was too powerful. Even 3 to 5 Daoist-level experts might not be his opponent. Moreover, Yin Demon Ancestor was a first-rate expert even among master-level experts. His strength was not below that of a famous Sea of Soul Master. If he were to be angered, it would be hard to say whether he wouldn't fall. However, they were truly unwilling to give up like this, especially for the Sea of Soul Realm experts who had participated in the 3-yin city auction. Daoist Black Snake, Old Man Sky Eagle, I think you two aren't willing to let Yin Demon Ancestor have his way. How about we join hands? Daoist Iron would send a Zhen Yuan transmission to Daoist Black Snake and Old Man Sky Eagle, then secretly contacted Rock Spirit Warrior, Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior, and 3 Spirit Warrior. Daoist Black Snake shot a glance at Daoist Iron Wood. "Alright, we'll stand together. Whoever dares to make me cannon fodder, I'll make him die without a burial ground. Hehe, now is not the time. You don't need to worry about this." Shua 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 shua. Almost at the same time, 7 or 8 Sea of Soul Realm experts led by Daoist Black Snake, Daoist Iron Wood, and Old Man Sky Eagle walked out and faced Yin Demon Ancestor. Old Man Sky Eagle sinisterly said, "Yin Demon Ancestor, your strength is indeed higher than ours, but you can't let us leave for nothing. If my guess is correct, the map was taken out by you. In that case, don't blame us for interfering." Daoist Iron Wood cautiously looked at Yin Demon Ancestor. Yin Demon Ancestor laughed in extreme anger. "Good. You think you can deal with me by joining hands? Seems like I, Yin Demon Ancestor, haven't made a move for a long time. You don't put me in your eyes anymore." Both sides were ready to jump at each other's throats. Many astral-reaching experts saw that the situation wasn't right and retreated from the Stoneman array. The aftermath of a battle between Sea of Soul Realm experts could easily kill them. Haha, why the need to make such a big fuss? How about we all sit down and have a good talk? There's no need to harm our friendship. The Sea of Soul Realm experts who were comprehending the Stoneman array couldn't sit still. Although they didn't know what the altar represented, judging from the attitude of Yin Demon Ancestor and Daoist Black Snake, they knew that it wasn't ordinary stuff. If they didn't come out, they would be letting themselves down. 1, 2, 3. 5 Sea of Soul Realm experts walked out. The one who spoke had an aura not below Yin Demon Ancestor's. Clearly, he was a Sea of Soul Realm expert. Apart from him, the other 4 were Daoist and 3 Soul Realm experts respectively. Their formation was even above Daoist Black Snake's. Master Jade River. Yin demon ancestor's pupils shrank. This person was just like him, also a Sea of Soul realm expert. He had a high attainment in the water profound, and couldn't be looked down upon. If it was Daoist realm experts, he wouldn't care, but Master realm experts were something he couldn't disregard. Which Master realm expert hadn't created 2 or 3 profound martial skills? Without going all out in a battle, no one would know who was stronger. Excluding super powerful Master realm experts, the gap between the majority of people wouldn't seem too big. At this moment, Yin demon ancestor was already unable to suppress the situation. Chapter 428. The 6 beams of light on the altar connected heaven and earth like 6 resplendent heavenly pillars, dyeing the altar and its surroundings in a dreamy and illusory manner. The atmosphere in the stoneman array under the altar froze. After a long while, Yin demon ancestor's expression eased up, and a cold light flickered in his eyes. Master Jade River, why are you joining in the fun? Master Jade River was communicating with Ironwood Daoist via Zhen Yuan. After learning that the altar was the key to obtaining the undying body, he was extremely astonished. After the astonishment, he became indescribably excited as he faintly smiled. Yin demon ancestor, your words are incorrect. Treasures belong to the fated. Since the altar appeared here, it means that I also have some fate with it. How can you say I'm joining in the fun? Me. Yin demon ancestor coldly snorted. He knew that letting Master Jade River leave was impossible, so he said, Master Jade River, I acknowledge your strength. However, apart from you, the others will have to scram. I think you don't want them to follow this. Master Jade River was somewhat hesitant as he glanced at Ironwood Daoist and the others. Ironwood Daoist was anxious, he knows more than any of us. Without us restraining him, the secret of the undying body will eventually fall into his hands. You're courting death. Not waiting for Ironwood Daoist to finish, Yin demon ancestor was enraged. A gloomy black aura erupted as he slashed at Ironwood Daoist, even including Blacksnake Daoist and Old Man Sky Eagle. He wanted to kill them in one strike. Great Jade Spiral. At the crucial moment, Master Jade River formed a seal with both hands and used his prized profound martial skill, creating a whirling current around the 3, blocking Yin demon ancestor's attack. Master Jade River, what's the meaning of this? Could it be that you want to fight to the death with me? Yin demon ancestor gloomily looked at Master Jade River. Master Jade River cleared his throat and said, they can't be killed. If you want to kill, you should kill those astral reaching experts. What do you think? Not good. Hearing these words, the complexions of the astral reaching experts within the stoneman array changed. Each and every one of them erupted with Zhen Yuan and flew out like bees. As for Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng, they retreated 100 meters, operating their Zhen Yuan to the limit, preparing to retreat at any time. Die. Yin Demon Master didn't think that an astral reaching expert could affect him. However, everything that had happened before had left him with a bellyful of anger, and he could vent it out on an astral reaching expert. With the earth as the sky, kill. The Yin demon ancestor was proficient in the profound of earth. As he struck out with his palm, the universe reversed. The sky was no longer the sky, and the earth was no longer the earth. Not only did it mess up the direction of the escaping crowd, it also made them lose their sense of balance. They swayed left and right, looking extremely battered. Shortly after, an earthen yellow hand descended from the sky, covering the sun as it ruthlessly slammed down. What a terrifying profound meaning. Yi Chen's pupils shrank to the size of a needle. This palm strike of the Yin demon ancestor had already surpassed the scope of techniques, and had completely risen to the level of the profound mysteries of the universe. Within the range of the palm pressure, the heaven and earth shook, and the universe reversed. Within it, one would be like an ant, unable to display even 30% of one's strength. Using 30% of one's strength to resist the full power of the Yin demon ancestor was like smashing an egg against a rock. The might of a Sea of Soul master had thoroughly surpassed Yi Chen's imagination. Just as the astral reaching experts within several li were about to be killed, the undying altar suddenly revolved. 6 light beams interweaved into one, turning into a thick beam that pierced through the sky, piercing through stunning sky, extreme void sky, and then zenith sky. Meanwhile, the stoneman array beneath the undying altar suddenly caved in, revealing a vertical passage of unknown depth. The passage was 10 li thick, and with the altar as the center, the grey tornado rushed up like a huge funnel. The mouth of the funnel went deep into the passage. Ah! 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 Without any resistance, everyone within 10 li was sucked into the funnel tornado. The astral reaching experts within 10 li also couldn't resist the suction of the tornado. They went fast, but the speed at which they were sucked back was even faster. They were sucked inside, including numerous stoneman statues. What's going on? As Sea of Soul Masters, Yin Demon Ancestor and Master Jade River naturally wouldn't allow the tornado to do as it pleased. They urged their Jin Yuan with all their might, wanting to break free. However, the tornado's length was unknown, and its powerful suction even swept down the clouds in the sky. The few of them struggled a few times, but were once again sucked in. Inside the passage, nearly 100 people were rapidly descending, creating a scene of chaos. This scene is exactly the same as the pattern of the undying altar. Murong Qingcheng recalled the pattern of the undying altar. Apart from the altar, the flickering light and tornado were also carved on it. Presumably, once the undying altar appeared, the scene above would appear. Yi Chen's forehead swelled, and his soul power fanned out. After a moment, he sucked in a deep breath. This passage's depth is over 100 li. This is troublesome. The underground was an unknown place. Although astral reaching experts could go up into the sky and down into the earth, there was still a limit. The sky couldn't be higher than the stunning sky, and the earth couldn't be lower than 20 or 30,000 meters, which was 40 to 50 li. Beyond this range was a place astral reaching experts couldn't go. At present, they had already gone dozens of li underground, but they still couldn't find the end. They were afraid that the depth of the passage was at least several hundred li huff. All of a sudden, the suction inside the passage increased sharply, and everyone's falling speed surpassed 5 times the speed of sound. Astral reaching experts could certainly reach several times the speed of sound when rushing at full speed, but that was under normal circumstances. Right now, things were clearly not normal. They were falling at a crazy speed, and couldn't be controlled at all. Some of the weaker astral reaching experts almost vomited out their internal organs, suffering heavy injuries from the sudden increase in suction. Almost subconsciously, Yi Chen grabbed Murong Qingcheng's soft little hand. Murong Qingcheng was startled for a moment, then clenched her soft hand. 50 li. 70 li. 150 li. 150 li. 250 li. We're dead for sure. We've already gone 200 li underground. Some astral reaching experts had long faces. If they had known earlier, they wouldn't have joined in the fun. On the other hand, the expressions of Sea of Soul Realm experts like Yin Demon Master and Master Jade River didn't change. A depth of several hundred li was still within their endurance range. Moreover, they firmly believed that this wasn't a disaster, but an opportunity for them. The secret of the undying body must be hidden deep underground. Huff huff, the suction was still increasing, reaching 7 times the speed of sound. Even Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng couldn't adapt to the sudden increase in speed. Their brows gradually creased. The suction is increasing. I'm afraid the true depth is beyond our imagination. Yi Chen tightened his grip on Murong Qingcheng's hand and transmitted his Zhen Yuan. Murong Qingcheng said, "There has always been a rumor that there is another world in the boundless depths of the underground. I wonder if it has any connection with this passage. Since we're already here, let's take things as they come." Yi Chen looked around. Everything was chaotic. Occasionally, he could see 1 or 2 faintly discernible stone statues. In this strange environment, the statues seemed to contain the martial Tao, which was thought-provoking. His mood soon calmed down. 300 li. 500 li. 800 li. 1,000 li. Soon, everyone arrived at the depth of 1,000 li. Even Sea of Soul Realm experts were somewhat frightened here. 1,000 li underground was a place they had never been to before. They hadn't even heard of it. How deep the true spirit continent's underground was. From ancient times until now, no one could say for sure. Is the secret of the undying body really underground? Yin Demon Master's face flickered with a trace of fear. 1,000 li below was more or less a dangerous forbidden zone for him. Normally, forbidden zones underground were basically impossible to enter, and the degree of danger far surpassed the forbidden zones on the surface. Not far away, Master Jade River smiled bitterly. From time to time, he would urge his soul power to probe the depth, but the result made him extremely panicked. He couldn't find anything. As for Daoist Ironwood, Daoist Black Snake, and the other sea of Soul Realm experts, their faces were all deathly pale. They were prepared to resign themselves to fate. In any case, struggling would be futile. There was no need to think too much. The suction continued to increase, reaching 10 times the speed of sound from 7 times the speed of sound. More than 10 astral-reaching experts vomited blood and died, turning into mindless corpses. Strangely, an illusory shadow floated out of these mindless corpses, fusing with the similarly descending stone statues. The statues seemed even more mysterious. 2,000 li. 3,000 li. 5,000 li. The endless descent made everyone indescribably frightened. What kind of concept was 5,000 li? From the surface to the stunning sky, it was only a few hundred li. 5,000 li was more than 10 times that. Moreover, the underground wasn't air, but earth. Every inch of the earth was several hundred times thicker than air. One could imagine how desperate it was to be buried inside. Fortunately, the suction stopped increasing after reaching 10 times the speed of sound. Otherwise, not more than 50% of the 100 people would have survived. 6,000 li. 7,000 li. 9,000 li. After 9,000 li, the suction finally slowed down, dropping from 10 times the speed of sound to 8 times the speed of sound, then 5 times the speed of sound, and then 3 times the speed of sound. At 9,900 li, Yi Chen measured the end and said with a deep voice, "If nothing goes wrong, we are about 10,000 li away from the surface." This depth is really despairing. Even though Murong Qingcheng was extremely calm, she couldn't help but feel heavy, as if there was a huge rock pressing down on her heart, making it hard for her to breathe. The world below them was not completely dark, but rather a slightly dusky day. In their line of sight, everything was dark green, extending to the horizon. This was a huge rainforest in the underground world, and they had just descended from the grey clouds. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Coming out of the clouds, the suction suddenly disappeared. Only the statues, because of their weight, fell one after another into the rainforest, creating huge craters. The shockwave radiated in all directions, startling a large number of strange birds and forest beasts. What's going on? I can't feel my Jin Yuan. Someone wanted to use his Jin Yuan to slow down, but found that there was no reaction in his body, so he cried out. Me too. Not good. Without Jin Yuan, how can we survive in this damned place? Chapter 429. Being tens of thousands of meters in the sky, once they lost their Jin Yuan, it would be the same as losing the ability to fly. Even an iron ball would be smashed into a metal pancake, not to mention a human body. Tie up your clothes. In the face of life and death, some people thought of using their clothes to make a huge umbrella to slow down the speed. The good thing was that with the mental power, they no longer needed to pour in their Jin Qi and Jin Yuan to open their storage rings. Otherwise, they would not even be able to open their storage rings. Swoosh. Countless colorful umbrellas opened up, looking like mutated dandelions. The descending speed was getting slower and slower, eventually reaching a speed that made people feel relieved. The others imitated him and did the same. Yi Chen wanted to take out his flying puppet, but if he did so, he would become the target of everyone, since he would not be able to use his Jin Yuan. One flying puppet would be enough to cause chaos, and he was not sure if he could take on the evil demon master and Master Jade River. You can borrow my clothes. Murong Qingcheng was a woman after all, so her clothes were all dresses and underwear, which was not very elegant. Murong Qingcheng chuckled, no need, I have this. A black shadow flashed past, and a pair of specially made gliding wings appeared on Murong Qingcheng's back. They were black in color, and were 5 meters long when stretched out, looking like the wings of a demon or a bat. With the gliding wings, Murong Qingcheng had regained her flying ability. Although it was a bit weak, it was better than nothing. With Murong Qingcheng's help, Yi Chen hitched a ride. Countless umbrellas landed in the deep rainforest. Soon, Murong Qingcheng and Yi Chen landed nearby as well, standing on a huge branch. The trees in this rainforest are indeed huge. Because of the humidity and heat, the trees in the rainforest were very easy to rot. Therefore, it was already quite impressive to have 70 to 80 meters tall trees. However, none of the trees in this rainforest were lower than 100 meters. The bushes between the trees were even taller than the towers. Those vines were like huge pythons, intertwining and climbing all over the place. Damn! What the hell is this place? There were about 80 people in the underground world. An astral-reaching realm warrior took out his weapon and chased away a head-sized mosquito. Buzz! Buzz buzz buzz. The speed of the mosquito was very fast. The sound of its wings flapping was no different from that of a bomber. In just a flash, it had arrived at the man's neck. Its mouthpart, which was as long as a chopstick, was inserted deep into the man's neck. With a strong suction, a large amount of blood was extracted. Ah! The blood-curdling screams echoed out as the astral-reaching realm warrior, whose blood had been sucked by the mosquito, shriveled up at a speed visible to the naked eye, looking like a dried corpse. Meanwhile, that head-sized mosquito instantly expanded to the size of a washbasin, its abdomen swollen dark red, filled with blood. Kai! The astral-reaching realm warrior right next to him reacted quickly. He shook his long spear and pierced through the mosquito's head. Buzz 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 buzz. At the same time, a few head-sized mosquitoes flew out of the bushes and headed toward the nearest rock spiritualist. Courting death. The rock spirit warrior's weapons were 2 huge iron hammers. When the hammers were waved, a sonic boom was heard and 3 mosquitoes were killed. However, the last mosquito was more cunning. It took advantage of the time difference and flashed to the back of the rock spirit warrior, then forcefully inserted its proboscis. Not good. My back is numb. The body of a Sea of Souls realm warrior was way too powerful. No matter how sharp the proboscis of the mosquito was, it would only be able to penetrate half an inch. However, the mosquitoes in this rainforest were not normal mosquitoes. Their proboscis carried a powerful paralyzing toxin, which instantly numbed the rock spirit warrior's back, rendering him unable to feel anything. Before the toxin had spread to his whole body, the rock spirit warrior smashed his hammer onto his back. Boom! Blood splashed everywhere as the mosquito was smashed into minced meat, sticking on the back of the rock spirit warrior's clothes. Observing the rock spirit warrior's condition, Yi Chen said with a low voice, "This place is not simple. If I have guessed it right, this mosquito should be a rank 3 demonic beast, the dragon blood mosquito, which only existed in the ancient times. Its attacking power is not that powerful, but it can pierce through the protective Zhen Yuan of clasping Yuan realm warriors. Without Zhen Yuan, even an astral-reaching realm warrior would die after being bitten." With the huge knowledge of the Battle King, Yi Chen knew a lot of things, including the rare dragon blood mosquitoes. Ancient demonic beast. Hearing him, Murong Qingcheng was a bit surprised. Ancient demonic beasts were even more powerful than normal demonic beasts, and they could even challenge those with higher realms. Hey! The numbness has weakened. After killing the dragon blood mosquitoes, the paralyzing toxin on the rock spirit warrior's back disappeared automatically. He let out a breath of relief as he wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead. Right then, more buzzing noises were heard. According to the noise made by the dragon blood mosquitoes, it was still dozens of miles away. The scariest part was that the mosquitoes were naturally very sensitive to fresh blood. If they did not leave this place, they would be caught sooner or later. Let's go. No one dared to slow down as they headed in the opposite direction of the noise. The rainforest was very hot, and the trees and weeds were very dense. The people walking in the front waved their weapons from time to time, cutting down the plants that were blocking their way. Be careful. In this world, the mental power is restricted a lot. Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng walked in the middle of the group. Along the way, Yi Chen kept spreading out his soul power to check the surroundings. He realized that in the rainforest, the range of his soul power was not more than 300 meters, and the mental power was even more restricted. It could not even reach 10% of his soul power. It should be known that his soul power was a couple of times more powerful than normal astral reaching realm warriors. According to the ratio, the mental power of extreme astral reaching realm warriors would not be able to reach more than 10 meters. What could he do within 10 meters? Even without his Zhen Yuan, Yi Chen could reach more than 100 meters within a second. 10 meters would be 1/10 of a blink of an eye. Yeah. Murong Qingcheng nodded. She had already tried it, and the maximum range of her mental power was around 9 meters. After walking for a while, the surrounding shrubs disappeared and were replaced by bright flowers that ranged from a few meters to a dozen meters tall. The roots of these flowers took up 80% of their length and were thicker than his waist. They were sparkling and translucent with a hint of tender green. Swoosh! Without making any sound, one of the flowers at the back of the group quietly bloomed. Its root bent, and swallowed an astral-reaching realm warrior. After a couple of blinks of an eye, that astral-reaching realm warrior had disappeared without a trace. Gradually, someone finally realized that something was wrong. The seemingly harmless flowers around them were man-eating flowers that wanted to devour people. The liquid inside the flowers was highly corrosive and could digest a person in a short period of time. Not even the bones needed to be spat out. It's the bone-eating flower. Yi Chen had been paying attention to the flowers, and only now did he find the information about them from the Battle King's knowledge. The bone-eating flower was also an ancient species. From the outside, the flower bud was only half the size of a human's body, and seemed harmless. However, once it launched an attack, the flower bud would instantly expand to a couple of meters in size, and could even swallow a small beast. In fact, no one had let their guard down. However, the bone-eating flower did not pick the most obvious places to attack. It only targeted the people who were at the edge of the group. Chop off their roots. Someone held a weapon and started to hack at the roots of the bone-eating flower. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Something shocking happened. The roots of the bone-eating flower wriggled, spreading out in all directions. Soon, it disappeared into the deep rainforest. Fuck. What the hell is this place? As astral reaching experts and Sea of Soul realm experts, when had they ever felt so stifled? Not to mention the fact that their Zhen Yuan had disappeared, even their mental power had been restricted to a range of 10 meters. It was basically useless. Everyone's nerves were stretched taut, and they were all paranoid. What was even more despairing was that they did not know how to get out of this place. They were 10,000 miles away from the surface, not 10,000 meters. Including the Yin Demon Master and Master Jade River, everyone was feeling depressed and had a bad look on their faces. Yeah. Yi Chen suddenly squinted his eyes. Using his soul power, he discovered that there was an image of something moving at a high speed 200 meters away. It was not a demonic beast, nor was it a strange plant. It was a human being, and it looked no different from them. The only difference was that it was topless, wearing a leather skirt, with a beast bone necklace around its neck. There were strange patterns tattooed on its skin. Murong Qingcheng saw the change in Yi Chen's expression, so she asked with a low voice, "What's wrong?" "Someone is watching us." "Someone? A human?" Yi Chen said, "It should be a human. The situation is not looking good. Beasts were not scary, plants were not scary, but humans were usually the scariest, because humans had the highest intelligence and knew how to use strategies." Shoo. Just as he finished talking, a sharp arrow shot out with a loud sonic boom. It went through an astral-reaching realm warrior's body and nailed into a huge tree, the tail of the arrow still shaking. An arrow. Is there someone? Hey, you are also humans who fell down, right? Let's talk. Can you take us out of this rainforest? Someone could not help but yell. Shoo, 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 shoo. What answered him was a huge wave of arrows. All of a sudden, he was turned into a hornet's nest, while some of the arrows were still flying towards Yi Chen. Taking out the destruction sword, Yi Chen shook his wrist, and his sword speed increased drastically. A misty sword light flashed, and those sharp arrows were all cut in half. What surprised him was that those arrows contained a trace of invisible power, which made his hand go numb, and his sword speed was greatly affected. Willpower? No, it is very different from willpower. It seems to be even easier to use than willpower. It seems to be another way of using willpower. Yi Chen was shocked. You are looking for death. A 3 Meridians warrior in the crowd bent his knees and jumped up. As a Sea of Souls realm warrior, even without his Jin Yuan, he was still very powerful. Normal astral reaching realm warriors might not even be able to break through his defense. His body flashed a couple of times, turning into a black shadow and jumping into the depths of the jungle. Shoo, 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 shoo. More and more arrows were shot over. The 3 Meridians warrior used his soul power to sense and avoid 99% of the attacks. The remaining 2 or 3 arrows only managed to pierce through his skin, but only managed to go 1 or 2 centimeters in. Die. The 3 Meridians warrior threw out a palm attack, and the huge tree in front of him was broken in half. The top part of the tree flew out, landing on 3 or 4 underground humans. He then grabbed an injured one and went back to where he was standing. Chapter 430. Seeing that their own people had been captured, the underground people hiding in the depths of the rainforest were extremely furious. Countless arrows shot out like a torrential rain, 1/3 of which were aimed at the 3 spirit warriors. A bunch of uncivilized barbarians. Go back. The Yin Demon Master had made his move. As a member of the group, although he did not care about the lives of the others, it did not mean that he did not care right now. It should be known that the more people there were, the more power there was. Especially in the situation where they had lost their Jin Yuan, any Sea of Souls realm warriors could not be lost. He waved one of his hands, and the sky full of arrows froze before flying back. Pooh, pooh, pooh. The arrows came fast, but they did not go slow either. The trees were punctured, and the plants were flattened. In the depths of the rainforest, countless underground people were hit by the arrows, nailing onto the nearby trees and ground. Master-level martial will. It was Yi Chen's first time seeing a master-level warrior using his full power. Although the martial will was not as powerful as the sword will in terms of attacking power, it was way more powerful in other aspects. For example, the attack that the Yin Demon Master had just done was something that Yi Chen could not do. Glancing at the Yin Demon Master, Yi Chen thought to himself, in terms of attacking power, both of them are way weaker than me. But the martial will can not only increase the attacking power, but also the defense and speed. If I fight 1-on-1, my chance of winning is not that high. If I fight 1-on-2, I will definitely lose. I hope this will not happen. Yi Chen had not condensed the true sword spirit yet, so his cultivation was not as powerful as the Sea of Souls realm warriors. But his sword spirit embryo contained the immortal element, which was naturally powerful. Combined with the martial will light that only a master-level warrior could have, it was definitely a master-level sword will. Its attacking power was so powerful that only master-level sword artists could compete with it. Other master-level warriors would not be able to compete with it. However, he understood that powerful attacking power did not mean powerful battling power. Moreover, the body of a master-level warrior would be even more powerful than his. Meanwhile, his body could only compete with normal Sea of Souls realm warriors, and it was still because he had been trained by the petals of the sky demon flower. Bang! Seeing that the Yin demon ancestor had taken care of the trouble, the 3 Meridians martial artist chuckled coldly. With a shake of his palm, the captive subterranean human's feet left the ground and crashed into a 5 to 6 meter thick tree at the side. With a poochie sound, the 3 Meridians martial artist picked up an arrow and shot it. The arrow imbued with martial will was even more ferocious than an arrow shot from a bow. The body of the arrow pierced through the subterranean human's chest all the way to the tail of the arrow before stopping, firmly nailing him to the tree and hanging there. I'm asking you, do you understand me? The 3 Meridians spirit master asked. Roar. The underground human captive was very strong. His muscles were covered with strange totem tattoos and looked like they were made of steel and iron. His pupils were slightly different from those of a human, and they were more like those of a wild beast. His teeth were much sharper, and his canine teeth were especially obvious. He kept struggling and opening his mouth to let out threatening roars. He was very wild and cruel. Poochie. Another arrow pierced through the abdomen of the subterranean human captive. The Three Meridians martial artist raised his voice and said, "I'm asking you, do you understand me?" Just as the Three Meridians martial artist was asking the question, the two arrows on the subterranean human's body were automatically pulled out. A cold and bloodthirsty light flashed through his eyes as he bent his knees and pushed off the tree with his feet, pouncing towards the Three Meridians martial artist like an eagle. Pa. Unfortunately, the difference in strength between the two was too big. The Three Meridians martial artist was a spirit-level expert after all, and had condensed a real martial spirit. He smashed the subterranean human's head into pieces with a single palm strike, causing red and white matter to splatter everywhere. Turning around, the Three Meridians martial artist looked at the Yin demon ancestor and Master Jade River. It seems like they have their own language and can't understand what we're saying. Moreover, they seem to have grasped a martial spirit. Not only are the arrows shot out strangely powerful, they can even pull out the arrows that have been shot from their bodies. Master Jade River shook his head and said, "They don't have a martial spirit. That formless power is another way of using willpower, and it has the same effect as sword intent. It is indeed another way of using willpower. If I'm not wrong, it should be called willpower, a kind of formless mental power cultivated through cultivation." The Yin demon ancestor said. Willpower. Hearing this, everyone was shocked, not knowing where the Yin demon ancestor had gotten this information from. Soon after, their eyes burned with passion. If they could learn the cultivation method of willpower, their strength would definitely increase by a lot. The opportunity to improve further was not something that could be found anywhere. Seeing everyone's expression, the Yin demon ancestor sneered and did not say anything. Secretly, Yi Chen said to Murong Qingcheng in a low voice, "Willpower is not suitable for us. We either cultivate willpower or Zhen Yuan, which is impossible to coordinate." However, willpower is indeed very powerful. These people have only learned a little bit of it, and have not reached a very deep level. It's said that when willpower reaches a very high level, it can even tear down the stars in the sky and disintegrate anything. Originally, he was still analyzing what kind of power the subterranean humans were using. Hearing the Yin demon ancestor's words, he immediately found information related to willpower, which gave him a fright. This world does not belong to us. I wonder what their strength and position are here. Murong Qingcheng frowned and said in a low voice. Yi Chen nodded. I think the others should have considered this question. Who? The subterranean humans quickly recovered from the Yin demon ancestor's fierce attack. They did not shoot out arrows again, but this time, it was an attack that was even more threatening than the arrows. The grass in the surroundings shook like waves, and the sound of rapid movement could be heard continuously. Judging from the height of the grass and the frequency of the shaking, it was not the subterranean humans who were attacking, but some kind of extremely fast creature that was not more than 1.5 meters tall. This made everyone even more nervous, and they all adjusted their postures, ready to fight at any time. Shoo! The first creature jumped out of the grass. It was 2 meters long and 1.2 meters tall, with the body of a dog, but 10 times more powerful than a dog. Its body, which did not have long fur, was covered with black and yellow patterns, which were generally dark in color. 4 sickle-like claws extended from its huge feet, and compared to its body, its head, which was not too big, was wrapped in a thick bone armor. A pair of fierce eyes shone with a cruel light, and its huge mouth was filled with sharp teeth, dripping with a light purple liquid. It was a huge dog from the subterranean world. Who? The huge dog roared, throwing an astral-reaching realm warrior who was closest to it onto the ground. It opened its mouth and bit down, and the warrior did not even have the time to scream before his head was separated from his body, blood splashing everywhere. Soon after, even more giant hounds pounced out and engaged in a chaotic battle with the crowd. Due to the ferocity of their attacks, the giant hounds had the absolute upper hand. We have become the prey. Based on his intuition, Yi Chen thought that the subterranean humans were treating them like prey. First, they attacked with arrows, then released the huge dogs. This was the most effective way for the hunters on the surface world. He did not know what was waiting for them. A huge dog jumped into the air, jumping towards Murong Qingcheng. Murong Qingcheng's expression did not change. She reached out with her right hand, which was wearing a gold silk glove, and grabbed the huge dog's neck before twisting her body. Using the inertia, she smashed the huge dog onto the ground, making a loud sound. Blood leaked out from the corner of the huge dog's mouth as it struggled with all its might. Catcher! With a twist of her wrist, Murong Qingcheng broke the dog's neck. On the other side, there were two huge dogs jumping towards Yi Chen. With the destruction sword in his hand, Yi Chen took a quick step back and reached out his right arm, stabbing out a huge dog's right eye at a lightning speed. Then, he changed his footwork, his body moving with the sword. The tip of the sword sliced through the huge dog's face and landed on the other dog's throat. Shoo! Blood spilled everywhere as the two huge dogs fell onto the ground one after another. Without waiting for them to struggle, Yi Chen killed them one by one, cleanly and cleanly. Such a tough-skin defense. I am afraid it is even more powerful than most of the people here. Sea of Souls realm warriors did not need to be mentioned. Their body toughness was unparalleled, and Yi Chen was also at this level. Among the remaining astral-reaching realm warriors, only a few of them had trained body-training martial arts, which allowed them to compete with the huge dogs. The rest of them could only use their skills to kill their enemies. Shoo! 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 Taking advantage of the huge dogs attracting everyone's attention, the underground humans attacked again. Countless arrows were shot out from different angles like poisonous snakes, taking lives one after another. Being attacked passively was not Yi Chen's style. He pushed his sword steps and turned into a beam of sword light, attacking toward the direction of the arrows. Fast 4 sword attacks. The destruction sword, which contained the slaughter sword intent, threw out 4 sword attacks in a row. 4 beams of sword light crisscrossed through the air, cutting down trees and separating bushes. The whole space seemed to have been torn apart, and blood spilled everywhere. Earth as sky. The Yin Demon Master did not notice Yi Chen's movement. His body flashed, blowing away the 2 huge dogs that were charging at him. He then jumped into the air, raising his right hand high up and attacking toward the depths of the rainforest. Boom! Without Shen Yuan, it did not mean that he could not perform profound sense martial arts. Just relying on his martial will alone, this palm attack from the Yin Demon Master was not something a normal person could handle. The ground in front of him cracked open and rolled up, sucking in everything within its range. It was quite a visual impact. Master Jade River did not fall behind. He drew half circles with both of his hands, twisting the air and the Yuan Qi of the underground world with his martial will, gathering into a huge spiraling force field. He used another method to perform a profound sense martial art that required one to make hand seals, Great Jade Spiral. Swish. After killing a lot of underground humans, Yi Chen was just about to choose a new battlefield when he suddenly frowned. Using his soul power, he sensed that the surroundings had been covered by a layer of invisible net. It was a mental net. Without soul power, one would not be able to sense its existence at all. An even more powerful underground human has appeared. Yi Chen did not need to guess to know that it was a master of the underground humans. The web of will was many times more brilliant than the will contained in the arrow. This meant that the opponent's will was very strong, able to affect reality alone and create an invisible but substantial net. Chapter 431. Destruction. Dealing with living things, the slaughter sword intent would be enough. Against inanimate objects, the destruction sword intent would be more suitable. The slaughter was to kill living things, while the destruction was to destroy everything, including everything. Throwing out a sword attack, the destruction qi spread out. Under this sword attack, the mental power net was like snow in the spring, melting away. The plants around it withered instantly, as if they had been through hundreds of years. A noise was heard from deep inside the rainforest. Soon, an invisible mental power spear was shot out towards Yi Chen at an unimaginable speed. It went through a huge tree on its way, which did not wither or break. However, that area seemed to have lost a huge amount of substance, turning into powder and collapsing down. However, the speed of the mental power spear did not slow down at all. Facing this, Yi Chen took a turn and held the destruction sword with both of his hands, waving it out easily. Swoosh! The invisible sword light made the rainforest lose its color, as if the colorful world had turned into a black and white one. The sword light sliced through the mental power spear, cutting it into two. More. Sensing his opponent's movement with his soul power, Yi Chen jumped up into the air. After stepping over a couple of huge trees, he threw out a sword attack. This sword attack contained no longer the destruction sword intent, but the immortal sword intent that Yi Chen was good at. As the immortal sword intent condensed into a shapeless sword light, the color in the sky and the earth recovered instantly. The surging mental power seemed to have crushed out all the way, which was even more horrifying than the destruction sword intent. After the destruction came loneliness, and after the immortal sword intent came eternity. That underground human warrior screamed out a couple of times and crazily pushed his mind power, building out layers of mental power defense in front of him. Even then, he was still worried, so he created a thick mental power armor on his body and a mental power shield in his hand. Boom! A horrifying sound came up from the bottom of everyone's heart. The immortal sword light was like a hot knife through butter, cutting through layers of mental power defense and shattering the shield. Eventually, it landed on the mental power armor. The mental power armor kept on repairing itself, but the immortal sword light was like a parasite that would not stop until it reached its target. Its power seemed to be endless as well, crazily tearing apart the mental power armor. Eventually, the mental power armor was shattered, and the immortal sword light rushed into the opponent's soul ocean. Ah! The man let out a blood-curdling scream and fell to the ground without making a sound. His originally robust muscles had completely lost their luster, like dead rotten wood. The rest of the underground humans were stunned. The person who had died was the leader of their team. His will was powerful, and he could be ranked in the top 20 in his race. He could fight 100 people by himself. They never thought that he would die at the hands of an outsider. That outsider made them feel a trace of fear. With a swing of his sword, the outsider had completely destroyed the leader's will defense, and even his soul had been destroyed. The next moment, there was a lot of noise. The underground humans communicated urgently in a language that Yi Chen and the others could not understand. The communication did not last long. In fact, it only took a few blinks of the eye. After the communication, the underground humans retreated in unison, along with the giant dogs with sharp claws and teeth. At least you have some self-awareness. The Yin demon ancestor did not see the battle between Yi Chen and the leader of the subterranean humans, and a cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Master Jade River said, "I didn't expect to see another cultivation civilization in the underground world. I wonder if it's a good thing or a bad thing." The Yin demon ancestor said, "No matter if it's a good thing or a bad thing, as long as they get in my way, they all have to die." Master Jade River chuckled and glanced at Yi Chen. Although he did not see the battle between Yi Chen and the leader of the subterranean humans, his instinct told him that the retreat of the subterranean humans should have something to do with Yi Chen. This made him quite curious about Yi Chen, since an astral-reaching realm warrior was actually able to force the subterranean humans to retreat. No matter what method he used, he should not be underestimated. After a huge battle, there were only 70 people left. Among them, there were 20 people who were wounded, with varying degrees of injuries. Bastard! I did not expect that I, old Liu, would be wounded by a dog one day. How is this still a dog? It is obviously an ancient hunting dog that can help humans hunt beasts and kill large beasts. Let's get out of here quickly. Who knows if they will come back or not? After a huge battle, the surroundings were in ruins, and the smell of blood was extremely heavy, which could easily attract the nearby beasts. The group could not take it anymore, so they left behind dozens of corpses and headed in a certain direction. No one knew how big the rainforest was. There was no sunlight or sky above, and no end in front of them. There was only endless heat and horrifying mosquitoes. The group maintained a constant speed as they opened up a small path in the rainforest. While passing by a huge branch, a poisonous snake disguised as a green leaf attacked Yi Chen viciously. Its body curled up like a green lightning, its sharp fangs aimed at Yi Chen's main artery on his neck, trying to bite him. Pap! Without even looking, Yi Chen lifted up his right hand and flicked his finger, cutting off the snake's head. Look! There is light in front of us. We are out of the rainforest. The astral reaching realm warrior who was leading the way was overjoyed as he turned his head and yelled. Hearing him, everyone felt a lot more relaxed, and a smile appeared on their faces. Walking out of the rainforest, they were greeted by a large lake. The color of the lake was not simple green or turquoise. Instead, it was a dreamy rainbow color. Under the dim light, everyone felt as if they had arrived in a magical world. There were some birds playing on the lake, looking very peaceful. Let's row there. Someone suggested. Yeah, I think it would be great too. The three sides of the lake were still surrounded by the rainforest, and only the end in front of them could not be seen. But of course, everyone was more inclined to think that it was not the rainforest. They started to cut down the wood and build the boat. Everyone had their favorite boat, and the one Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng had made was very simple. It was just a simple rectangle, but it was a huge one, 40 meters long and 15 meters wide. The bottom layer was very thick, and the 5 layers were stacked on top of each other to make it as sturdy as possible. What wrapped around the wood were the unique vines of the rainforest. These vines had lived for countless years, and were extremely tough. Normal astral-reaching realm warriors would not be able to cut it in one attack, and would only be able to leave scratches on it. After the ship was built, Yi Chen built 4 paddle stands on top of it, and there were 8 paddles, each of which was 20 meters long. The thickest part of the paddles had been cut into a flat shape, which was 3 meters wide. It looked like the paddles for giants. The lake looks calm and peaceful, but no one knows what kind of danger might occur. It would be best to prepare some small boats. Seeing some people couldn't wait to set out, Yi Chen was not impatient at all. He liked to do things without any mistakes. Even if there was danger, he would have a backup plan. Regarding this, Murong Qingcheng didn't have any doubts. After the boats were built, they were placed in their storage rings. Soon, the two boarded the boat. Each of them held a paddle and started to paddle in the water, making the boat move slowly towards the front of the lake. When they passed by some strange birds, they didn't seem to panic at all. Instead, they flapped their wings and tried to keep a distance from the boat. While no one knew what was going on, a huge bird disappeared from the lake without making a single splash. Gradually, the boat moved further and further away, and the rainforest behind them could no longer be seen. There is a holy snake from the wavy saint race in the lake. Some of them are going to die. A group of people walked out of the rainforest slowly. The leader had white hair and a muscular body. His tanned body was covered in white fur, and the white bone necklace around his neck was huge. Each of them was no smaller than a child's skull. He moved his mouth, saying something that normal people couldn't understand. Someone next to him laughed evilly. The wavy saint race likes the sacred sacrifice. They will be great offerings. The leader shook his head. As more and more ancient ruins have been discovered, more and more outsiders have entered the underground. This is the 3rd time in the past 10 years. The previous time, which was a year ago, the billowing sacred clan lost a saintess. That's why we, the Greenwood Sacred Clan, have decided to hunt down all outsiders. Third Master, you are talking about Serenity, right? She is indeed a beauty. Unfortunately, that outsider pretty boy took advantage of her. I don't know what kind of evil spell he used to win Serenity's heart, and brought her out of here. The young generation of the wavy saint race really hates outsiders. Don't look down on the young generation of the outside world. Although their training is different from ours, because of their large numbers, there will always be a king among them. Yes, let's go. The leader's eyes were gloomy as he glanced at Yi Chen from dozens of li away, then turned around and entered the rainforest. The lake was endless, looking like a dream. Hearing the sound of the waves, Yi Chen did not stop paddling. On the left side of the boat, a black light flashed through Murong Qingcheng's eyes. She said lightly, "We have been targeted by something. It must be a snake." Yi Chen answered. Swoosh. Just as Yi Chen finished speaking, the boat in the front was attacked. 100-meter-long black snake jumped out of the water, opened its mouth, and swallowed an astral-reaching realm warrior. A lot of people with good eyesight could clearly see that the snake had a long beard, which looked like the legendary dragon whiskers. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. There was more than one black snake with a dragon whisker. They kept jumping out of the water, taking away the people on the boat. Here it comes. Murong Qingcheng put down the paddle and raised her arm, grabbing onto a snake that had just jumped out of the water. She then spun her body, sending this huge snake flying miles away, bringing up a huge splash. Dong! All of a sudden, Murong Qingcheng's body shook, and the boat under her feet was blown into the air. Let me take care of it. Yi Chen jumped down, his left hand grabbing onto the edge of the boat. His body was hanging in the air, while his right hand held the destruction sword and threw out a sword attack, cutting towards an even bigger black snake. The black snake's scales were extremely hard, but Yi Chen's slaughter sword intent was aimed at creatures with flesh and blood. The snake had a sword mark that went through its whole body, dyeing the surface of the lake red. Chapter 432. Feeling the pain, the snake lost all of its power and started to dive into the lake. Meanwhile, the boat had also lost its balance and started to fall from the sky. Right then, another snake broke out of the water and waved its tail. Seeing that the huge boat was about to be cut in half, Yi Chen reacted quickly and used his left hand to slap the boat away. Boom! Yi Chen and the boat separated, and the snake's tail went through the gap between them, bringing up huge waves on the surface of the lake. Pap! 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 Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen lightly stepped on the surface of the lake. He twisted his feet, and a swirling power supported him as he started to run at a fast speed. The destruction sword in his hand sliced across the surface of the water. The swirling power under his feet increased drastically as Yi Chen jumped into the air and landed a solid sword attack on the snake's neck. Shoo! 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 In the next second, blood splashed out like a heavy rain. The snake had tried to go for wool and come home shorn. Its huge head that was like a carriage had been sliced off, and the cut was smooth and clean. Although Yi Chen looked so relaxed, it did not mean that everyone else was. Besides the 12 Sea of Souls realm warriors, the rest of them were in a bad shape. Their boats had either been flipped over by the snake or dragged into the water. No one knew if they were still alive or dead. All of a sudden, a huge area of the lake turned dark red, filled with the smell of blood. Take care of yourselves. In here, you guys can die very easily, just like rabbits that could be killed at any second. It was a Sea of Souls realm warrior who had been in the underground world for a couple of days. Without their Zhen Yuan, everyone's battling power had decreased drastically. However, up until now, not a single Sea of Souls realm warrior had died, which made him think that there was nothing in the underground world that could threaten him. While he was feeling relaxed, he could not help but tease those astral-reaching realm warriors who were risking their lives. Hearing him, some of them made a face. What's so special about it? This underground world is only the tip of the iceberg for us. Who knows how big it is and how dangerous it is? However, what he said is not wrong. Up there, we can't say that we can get whatever we want, but we are not an existence that can be killed at will. I didn't expect that in the underground world, with our Zhen Yuan restricted, we are so vulnerable. Even a mosquito or a python can kill us. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have joined in the fun. What's the point of saying all this? The most important thing is how to leave. Voila! Amidst the chaotic battle, a 300 meters long python suddenly emerged from the bottom of the lake. Rather than calling it a python, it was more like a giant loach. It had dorsal fins from its head to its tail, and its tail was like a dragon's tail. The dragon whiskers by its cheeks were crystal white, and they were 50 to 60 meters long. When it opened its mouth, its dense teeth were completely different from a python's. When it flicked its red tongue, 3 to 4 people were sucked in, including the almighty spiritualist. No. He reacted and slapped his opponent's head. However, this ferocious python, which had lived for countless years, had extremely strong defenses. The palm strike that contained martial will merely caused its head to tilt slightly, and it did not suffer any damage. Instead, it became increasingly infuriated and swallowed its prey. Run! Everyone snapped out of their shock and rowed with all their might towards the other end of the lake. After swallowing 3 to 4 people, that ferocious python was still not satisfied. It chased after them with the other pythons, flipping over a boat and eating the astral reaching realm warriors on it. Master Jade River could not stand it anymore, so he stood at the back of the boat and performed another profound sense martial art that he had created himself. Great Jade Cut. Under the guidance of Fang Xingjian's martial will, several tens of streams of water flew out from the lake. These streams of water condensed into thin rope-like blades that interweaved with each other like a huge net, encompassing toward the numerous pythons and that huge ferocious python. Shoo! 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 The master-level martial will was extremely powerful, and with the support of the water stream blades, its power was released to the extreme. Besides the fierce python that looked like a loach, the rest of the pythons that were covered were all torn apart. None of them could fight against it at all. However, the fierce python was not having it easy either, as a huge net of cuts appeared on its body. Blood kept pouring out of it, dyeing a huge part of the lake red. Yin Demon Cut. The Yin Demon Master had also attacked. He twisted his arm, and a curved blade shot out. The edge of the blade cracked on its own, turning into a tooth-like shape. It sliced through the wound of that fierce python. Swoosh! Blood gushed out like a waterfall in a jagged pattern. The upper half of the fierce python slid down diagonally, dying a violent death in an instant. Master-level warriors are indeed powerful. They are still so powerful even without Shen Yuan. Everyone who had noticed this scene was shocked. They now had a new understanding of master-level warriors. The lake was not that huge, but without Shen Yuan, they had not reached the end of it even after a week. The lake was still so far away. On a piece of land, a lake was connected to a long river in the middle of the land. The long river divided many unique and wild buildings into two. At the riverside, a young man with golden fur was squatting there, his palm brushing the python's head. There are outsiders coming this way. There are 70 of them, and you have killed 20 of them. 2 of them are very powerful, having killed the Holy Snake Master. The teenager squinted his eyes and patted the python's head, letting it dive back into the river. He then stood up and said coldly, "With me, the Gold-Winged Saint Sun, here, not a single outsider will be able to leave this place alive. They will all die." As the Saint Sun of the Billowing Saint tribe, his power could be ranked in the top 10. Serenity, who had been kidnapped a year ago, was his sworn sister. She was supposed to be married to a more powerful Saint Sun of the Saint tribe. But, who would have thought that something like this would happen? If I am not mistaken, those 2 powerful outsiders should be Master-level Sea of Soul's Realm warriors. Then, I will bring 2 priest elders over. Turning around, he walked toward the tallest building. Another 3 days had passed, and everyone finally saw the land. There were mountains and rivers on the land, which was no different from the outside world. The only difference was that the sky was always dark, and what was shining down from the gray clouds was not sunlight. Instead, it was a kind of light that was full of texture. Dawn. The boat reached the shore, and the remaining 50 people jumped down one after another. What is this place? Why does it look a bit strange? Everything in the underground world is not right. What do you expect? After crossing the beach, a forest appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The forest seemed to have gone through countless battles, as the ground was full of holes. Trees had fallen one after another, and some places were even more horrifying than the quicksand. Everyone saw a small snake sink into the ground and never come out again. Carefully entering the forest, everyone did not even have the time to let out a breath before they heard 3 to 4 explosive sounds. 5 astral-reaching realm warriors were blown dozens of meters away like broken sacks, bleeding from every orifice. They died in an extremely sullen way. "It's a trap." Yi Chen frowned. Murong Qingcheng said, "Judging from the vibration just now, it should be a mental power explosion trap. I did not expect the people in this world to have already developed mental power to this level. We have just escaped from the tiger's mouth, and now we have run into a pack of wolves. We can only fight." Being treated as prey by the underground humans would not feel good at all. If they wanted to survive, they would have to fight. Everything else was just empty and unrealistic. On a high slope in front of them, a group of people appeared. The leader was a majestic young man with wide shoulders and a small head. His body was covered in luxurious golden fur, and there was a strange tattoo on his exposed chest, giving off a powerful aura. On both sides of him stood two white-haired old men. They also had tattoos on their faces, and their eyes were very sharp. Outsiders, you will die. The majestic young man spoke in a broken human language, which sounded a bit awkward. Old Man Sky Eagle laughed. He can actually speak our language. Although he only knows a few words, there must have been someone who came down before us. Master Jade River nodded. Since the underground world exists, it must have communicated with the outside world. It is not strange at all. The majestic young man was indeed Goldwind Saint Sun. His gaze swept through the crowd, pausing on Yin Demon Ancestor and Master Jade River for a while. Then, it landed on Yi Chen. He seemed to feel that Yi Chen was not simple. He sneered, and disdain flashed in his eyes. Finally, his gaze shifted to Murong Cheng. Breathing slightly hurried, Goldwind Saint Sun said to the priest elder beside him, "I want this woman. Don't kill her." Saint Sun's eyesight is not bad. This outsider woman has a good temperament, perhaps even above the saintess. The priest elder on the left grinned. The priest elder on the right said, "Why don't we bring her back to be our saintess? Today, I want her. As for the others, I will kill them all." Goldwind Saint Sun's eyes flickered with intense desire and killing intent. He raised his hand high and waved it down. Although the crowd did not know what he was talking about, they could tell from his eyes and actions that things would not end well. Damn, they all treat us as prey. Do they really think we are easy to bully? Slaughter them all. Kill. There was no need for any provocation. Including Yi Chen, everyone's heart was filled with killing intent, and their eyes gradually turned scarlet red. Swish 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 swish, the first to attack were Goldwind Saint Sun's group. Their weapons were spears that could be thrown. Under the support of their thoughts, the spears pierced through the air at a speed that surpassed the speed of sound, tearing apart the air and covering everyone. Go back. Anger flickered on Yin Demon Ancestor's face. With a wave of his palm, his master-grade martial will gushed out. Peng. Suddenly, the priest elder on the left side of Goldwind Saint Sun made his move. A mental hammer smashed through Yin Demon Ancestor's martial will, making it impossible for him to block the spear. The next moment, 3 or 4 astral reaching experts couldn't dodge in time and were sent flying by the spears. Ding 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 ding. The bright sword light danced in the air, bouncing off at least 1/4 of the spears. Behind the sword light was Yi Chen, who was dressed in blue. Right then, he did not plan to hold back much of his power. If he continued to be killed like this, everyone would be killed, which was why this scene had happened. Chapter 433. Oh, interesting. He was actually concealing a part of his strength. Goldwind Saint Sun distinguished his strength based on what he had seen and heard. For example, when Yin Demon Ancestor and Master Jade River joined hands to kill Elder Sacred Snake, this scene was seen by the messenger Sacred Snake, who informed him. As for Yi Chen, he was merely equivalent to an ordinary Sea of Soul Realm expert and wasn't particularly outstanding. Now that he had erupted, his strength had doubled. It was impossible for him not to attract attention. Glancing left and right, Goldwind Saint Sun said, "I'll leave the 2 who killed Elder Sacred Snake to you. There should be no problem, right? Saint Sun, rest assured. I, Sang Ching, will make sure they never return." The priest elder on the left revealed a sneer. Goldwind Saint Sun was the Saint Son of the Billowing Saint tribe. His talent and perception were impeccable, and his potential was huge. Therefore, although he wasn't weaker than Goldwind Saint Sun in terms of strength, his status was much lower. In the tribe, the Saint Son and Saint Daughter were only below the Patriarch, and their status was extremely high. I, Bayan, will certainly kill them. The priest elder on the right closely stared at Master Jade River. Goldwind Saint Sun nodded, "Very well, make your move. Hearing these words, the priest elder named Sang-Ching pounced toward Yin demon ancestor. With a thought, an incorporeal consciousness armor condensed on his body. In his left hand was a shield flickering with a silver light, while in his right was a three-pointed, double-edged spear. Although subterranean humans didn't cultivate Shen Yuan, because they cultivated body tempering techniques, their physiques were formidable. Their movements were as fast as thunder, as if an ancient mammoth was charging at the enemy at full speed. Courting death. Yin demon ancestor's right hand tightened, and a 4-foot-long curved blade appeared in his hand. The curved blade had a thick back and a thin edge. With a wave of Yin demon ancestor's right hand, a cold light flickered, and the air was immediately sliced open. Ding! The two exchanged blows for the first time, and they were evenly matched. Your opponent is me. Seeing that Sang-Ching and the Yin demon ancestor had started fighting, Bian was unwilling to fall behind. His hands danced like a net, creating many after-images. In the next moment, the sky-covering intent net enveloped the Jade River Spirit Master, layer after layer. The Jade River Master narrowed his eyes and activated the Great Jade Spiral, which was propelled by his martial will. He protected himself in the center and allowed the net of will to envelop him. As for the others, they had been fighting for a long time. However, in comparison, the underground humans still had the absolute advantage. In terms of long-range attacks, the underground humans' mental power was the deciding factor. The long spears they threw out could easily pierce through the bodies of astral-reaching realm warriors. In close-range battles, the underground humans' physical strength was not something astral-reaching realm warriors could compete with. They were like beasts in human form, extremely powerful. However, the people from the outside world were not completely useless. In terms of battling techniques, the underground humans could not even catch up to them. The two were not even on the same level. Murong Qingcheng's opponents were 3 underground humans. These 3 people were different from the other underground humans. They weren't in a hurry to take Murong Qingcheng's life. It seemed that they had some plans. Ever since Murong Qingcheng condensed the embryonic form of her martial soul, she could already use her martial will to enhance all aspects of her qualities. However, when faced with the intangible will, she couldn't end the battle quickly. To be able to die by my hands is your honor. Gold-Wind Saint Sun walked toward Yi Chen step by step, his expression extremely relaxed. As far as he was concerned, personally dealing with Yi Chen was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. However, since he had nothing better to do, why not have some fun? Yi Chen couldn't understand his opponent's words, but it didn't mean he couldn't see his opponent's contempt. He stood in place without moving, his back straight like a sword about to be unsheathed. The sharp aura of a sword artist pervaded the surroundings. Gold-Wind Saint Sun sneered and suddenly raised his hand. Poochie. An incorporeal will blade brushed past Yi Chen's neck, leaving behind a 100-meter-long scar on the ground. As for why it didn't hit, it wasn't because Gold-Wind Saint Sun was lenient, but because Yi Chen tilted his head at the crucial moment, narrowly avoiding the attack. Not bad. Gold-Wind Saint Sun curled his lips. You take a sword attack from me as well. Yi Chen didn't care if his opponent could understand him or not. The destruction sword was unsheathed instantly, and he slashed upwards, causing a bright sword light. Boom. Gold-Wind Saint Sun had underestimated Yi Chen in the end. He didn't expect Yi Chen's sword attack to be so fast and unexpected. Without enough time to dodge, he could only arrange an indestructible will barrier in front of him, which was then quickly thickened and widened. The invisible sword light condensed from the destruction sword intent clashed with the will barrier, causing the ground to crack and crack. The surrounding trees cracked into pieces, turning into ashes. Gold-Wind Saint Sun himself was caught off guard and had to back out dozens of steps before he could neutralize the impact of the sword intent. Swinging his palm, he glanced at his left shoulder, where a piece of golden fur had been shaved off. Bits of hair were fluttering in the air, and his face looked terrible. Very well, you've finally piqued my interest. I wonder how you're going to block this next attack. Gold-Wind Saint Sun's expression turned serious. Yi Chen wasn't as easy to take care of as he had imagined. Of course, he still hadn't considered Yi Chen as a formidable opponent. He was just a bit more serious. Metal storm. Goldwind Saint Sun opened his mouth and shouted. The air in front of him was immediately expelled, and countless will blades shot out like a torrential storm without any pattern. Clang, 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 clang. Yi Chen shattered the will blades one after another. Because of his fast sword speed, it seemed like he had only attacked 3 or 4 times. In fact, he had attacked at least 17 times, and each sword attack would cut apart a straight line of will blades. Bastard, die for me. The ground under his feet collapsed. Goldwind Saint Sun took a step forward, and as he did so, more will blades were formed. With a single point as the center, they started to spin crazily, creating a horizontal tornado made of will blades. The tornado had a cone-shaped tip, attacking towards Yi Chen at a high speed. Sky Thunder Cut. Holding the destruction sword with both hands, Yi Chen used his destruction sword intent to push out his best and sharpest attack, the Sky Thunder Cut. With a single sword attack, it seemed like the world was being torn apart. The tornado made of will blades was split into 2, causing Goldwind Saint Sun's attack to fail on the verge of success. Impossible. How can his sword intent be so powerful? Goldwind Saint Sun's expression finally changed. In the billowing Saint clan, he had condensed his martial spirit a year ago. Once his martial spirit was formed, his will was equivalent to a sea of soul realm expert in the outside world. Moreover, after the will was transformed into will, its offensive power would increase by several folds. It was definitely not inferior to a master-level martial will. If Yi Chen could block his full power attack, wouldn't it mean that his sword intent was at the master level? To have a master-level sword intent in his 20s was simply unimaginable. At least in the history of the underground world, such a person had rarely appeared. Chapter 434. Due to the huge commotion caused by their battle, Yin Demon Ancestor and Master Jade River both noticed this scene. Their expressions were astonished at first, then turned profound. No one knew what they were thinking. Daoist Ironwood and Old Man Sky Eagle were also astonished. Although they knew that Yi Chen wasn't an ordinary astral reaching expert, and seemed to have condensed a sword soul, they didn't expect his sword intent to reach such a level. Could it be that his talent in willpower was a peerless genius that appeared once in 10,000 years? Like the ancient Sword King, his sword Dao aptitude was blessed by the heavens, and he was favored by the heavens? Are you serious? We actually have a true dragon-grade genius among us. If this news were to spread, it would raise a huge commotion. True dragon-grade genius? Isn't this overestimating him a bit too much? Absolutely not. As an astral reaching expert, he has a master-grade sword intent. If you say he isn't a true dragon-grade genius, I wouldn't believe it even if you beat me to death. Yeah, he's indeed worthy of being called a true dragon-grade genius. In the entire southern sector, there are no more than 5 people who can be called true dragon-grade geniuses. Among them, 2 barely qualify, and can only be considered as true dragon-grade geniuses. Despite the intense battle, the sea of Soul Realm experts were still chatting. The shock brought by Yi Chen was too great. It should be known that in a certain sector, peak geniuses were the peak geniuses, and their number was around 5. But in a sector, peak geniuses weren't enough. After all, a sector had around 5 peak geniuses, and in 8 or 9 sectors, there would be 40 or 50 of them. It was simply too much, and couldn't reflect their rarity. Therefore, peak geniuses were also divided into different levels. The first level was for ordinary peak geniuses. Needless to say, only geniuses with extremely high aptitude in all aspects could enter this list. Strength was not the only criterion. The second level was for true dragon-grade geniuses. The so-called true dragon had to have the potential to attack life and death realm. As for how to judge them, it was actually quite simple. Apart from reaching the peak level in all aspects, they also had to have a world-shaking ability. For example, Yi Chen had a master-grade sword intent at astral reaching realm, which was enough to shock the world. Even if you have a master-grade sword intent, I'll still crush you. Goldwind Saint Sun roared and spread his arms, seeming as if he was hugging an incorporeal ball. Then, he fiercely attacked Yi Chen. Catcher. The ground was plowed with a curved semicircle mark. This mark was formed so quickly that it seemed to have been formed abruptly without any warning. At that moment, Yi Chen and the people around Yi Chen all felt as if time had stagnated, as if space had been frozen. The mental attack from Goldwind Saint Sun had slowed down their thinking. High-density thoughts. Yi Chen's heart tightened. The strength of Goldwind Saint Sun was truly not to be underestimated. If this thought attack landed, even if he didn't die, he would be crippled. But that doesn't mean it has no weaknesses. His willpower was condensed into a ball, which had the most destructive power. But, it was also because it was a ball that it could not be perfectly executed. Pushing his soul power to its limit, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack at the weakest point of the ball-shaped willpower, which was the most unstable and imperfect place. Pop! The sphere of consciousness dissipated and blasted a large pit. Goldwind Saint Sun's extraordinary strike did not pose much of a threat to Yi Chen. It was like a thunder roaring but a raindrop falling. Seeing that the first strike was effective, Yi Chen took a step forward and slashed out a second time before Goldwind Saint Sun could. Puff! Spurting out a mouthful of blood, Goldwind Saint Sun flew back with a pale face. Saint Sun, Sang Qing and Bayan were shocked. They were very clear about Goldwind Saint Sun's strength. He was definitely not weaker than them, and could be ranked in the top 10 of the tribe. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become the #1 expert of the young generation of the Billowing Saint tribe. But now, he had been defeated by a blue-robed sword artist who was even younger than the Saint Sun. The two wanted to help Goldwind Saint Sun, but Yin Demon Ancestor and Master Jade River were not easy to deal with. Their attacking power might be weaker than Yi Chen's, but their speed and defense were horrifying. The two could barely maintain the situation, so how could they escape? Shoot! The number of people brought by Goldwind Saint Sun surpassed Yi Chen's group in the end. Seeing that Goldwind Saint Sun was in danger, some of them took out short spears from their backs and threw them at Yi Chen. Yi Chen did not disregard the short spears. His defense could be said to be his weak point. It was worse than any Sea of Soul Realm expert who had condensed a martial soul. With the amplification of his consciousness, even if these short spears could not kill him, they could still heavily injure him. It was not worth the risk. The destruction sword brandished several beams of light, chopping down all the incoming short spears. Yi Chen slightly bent his knees and suddenly shot up. In the next moment, a huge crack appeared where he was just a moment ago. The soil around the crack turned into dust, and the attacker was none other than Goldwind Saint Sun, who had been beaten to the point of vomiting blood by Yi Chen. With the support of his subordinates, Goldwind Saint Sun was able to withstand Yi Chen's attacks. He seized the opportunity and took advantage of the time when Yi Chen was exhausted from dealing with the short spears to quickly condense his consciousness attack, wanting to catch him unprepared. He truly didn't expect Yi Chen to react so quickly, easily dodging his killing blow. Puff 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 puff, dodging Goldwind Saint Sun's sneak attack, Yi Chen did not immediately charge forward and fight a life-and-death battle. Instead, he followed the inertia and floated near the group of subterranean humans that had besieged him. With a shake of his right hand, a sword light shone brilliantly and blood splattered. Psyche cage. Seeing Yi Chen killing his subordinates as if he was chopping vegetables, Goldwind Saint Sun clenched his teeth and created a psyche barrier around Yi Chen, wanting to trap him inside. Then, he would gather his subordinates and launch several volleys. However, just as the psyche cage was formed, Yi Chen walked out with sword steps. That thin psyche barrier simply couldn't bear his casual sword strike. Too powerful. Is he still an astral reaching expert? Yi Chen had killed a lot of subterranean humans, and the more he killed, the more he saved a few astral reaching experts. These astral reaching experts, seeing Yi Chen slaughter the subterranean humans so easily and tear apart Goldwind Saint Sun's ace attack, couldn't help but be stupefied. In their eyes, even Yin Demon Ancestor and Master Jade River weren't this fierce. Even Master Grade Sword Intent couldn't explain Yi Chen's power. Breaking away from the psyche cage, Yi Chen's figure flickered and suddenly appeared in Murong Qingqing's direction. You, One of the people surrounding Murong Qingcheng glanced at him from the corner of his eyes and was greatly alarmed. However, before he could say a second word, his throat was slashed, and he died without any hesitation. The other two were somewhat alarmed and wanted to move closer to Goldwind Saint Sun. However, Murong Qingcheng's eyes and hands were sharp. She shot out like a butterfly and slammed her palm on the chest of the person on the left. With a catcher sound, the chest of the person struck caved in. Blood and minced meat spurted out of his mouth. He immediately suffered a life-threatening injury and lost all his battle strength. The other person was overtaken by Yi Chen, who had a strange footwork, and his neck was pierced. Yi Chen was just about to deal with Goldwind Saint Sun when his soul power sensed a large group of people advancing at high speed. The leader's aura was incomparably powerful. Merely his gaze gave off a soul-tearing oppressive feeling. A peerless expert is coming. Faintly changing their expressions, Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng sucked in deep breaths and raised their speed to the limit. In a few blinks of an eye, they were already 1 li away. Goldwind Saint Sun thought of something and roared, "Don't let a single one of them escape." Yes. The group of underground humans dispersed, sealing Yin Demon Ancestor and the rest. Yin Demon Ancestor and Master Jade River exchanged a glance and simultaneously abandoned their opponents, fleeing the battlefield. They were very clear that the newcomer was even more powerful than the two of them combined. In terms of will, it was at least equivalent to a Daoist grade expert. And once the will transformed into intent, it would be more than 3 or 4 times stronger, enough to sweep through everyone present. Peng peng peng. How could the underground humans encircling them be the opponents of Yin Demon Ancestor and Master Jade River? With a single clash, a gap was torn open in the encirclement. Old Man Sky Eagle, Daoist Black Snake, and the other Sea of Soul Realm experts also saw that something was amiss. They closely followed behind Yin Demon Ancestor and Master Jade River, frantically flying away. Rock Spirit Warrior and Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior's luck wasn't too good. Just as they were about to move, they were intercepted by Goldwind Saint Sun. The result was self-evident, and they died on the spot. Just like this, the originally anxious battle instantly collapsed as the reinforcements of the billowing saint race approached. Not a single person wanted to fight to the death, wishing that their parents could give them a way out so that their speed could surpass the others. Kill. Kill. In less than 5 breaths' time, the number of casualties surpassed the previous battle. Less than 20 people survived, and among these 20, there were still 7 or 8 people in the encirclement. Rumble. With a huge sound, the 7 or 8 people in the encirclement were completely annihilated. The one who acted was the white-haired old man who had just arrived. His body was similarly covered in golden fur, and his 2 eyebrows were extremely conspicuous, like 2 flying dragons. Great Elder. Sang Qing and Bayan bowed. The white-haired old man looked at Goldwind Saint Sun. How could so many people die? Goldwind Saint Sun sucked in a deep breath and said gloomily, "I miscalculated." Apart from the 2 people reported by the sacred snake, there was another more powerful person. I couldn't stop him. Before departing, the clan had already received the news of the outsiders. The arrival of the billowing saint race's great elder was within his expectations. The white-haired old man nodded and raised his eyes to look at Yi Chen and the rest several li away. Suddenly, his brows raised and he said in a low voice, "Not good. That's the conveyor gate of the sacred land. You 3 follow me. The rest of you return to the clan to rest." Swish. As soon as his words faded, the white-haired old man shot out like an arrow leaving a bow. Goldwind Saint Sun, Sang Qing, and Bayan didn't dare to be negligent and chased after the white-haired old man. The speed of the 4 was too fast, especially the white-haired old man. Under the amplification of his will, each step he took covered 200 to 300 meters. As he caught up to the Sea of Soul Realm experts, he waved his palm, and a frightening will storm instantly crushed them to death. There's a conveyor gate on that mountain. Hurry. At this moment, speed was life. If they were not fast enough, they would be caught by the white-haired old man sooner or later. With the means of killing Sea of Soul Realm experts in an instant, even if they joined hands, they wouldn't be his opponent. Yi Chen pulled Murong Qingcheng's hand. His sword intent surged to the limit, bringing the two with him. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.